What's up, you guys? Welcome back to WideBody Nation, and welcome to 2023. The car market right now, end of 2022, beginning of 2023, it's getting rough. It's not as bad as it's gonna get. It depends on where you are, honestly. If you are a buyer, the prices are coming down, but the interest rates are going up, so that's a good and a bad thing. If you're a seller, it's pretty much becoming worse and worse. So in this video, I'm gonna talk to you guys a couple things that I went to the dealership yesterday and experienced, because I was just wanted to get a ballpark figure, wanted to see if any dealerships were willing to offer me way more than like a Carvana price or a price I could just get on Kelley Blue Book or whatever it may be. So I'm gonna talk to you guys about that a little bit. And then I'm gonna talk to you about how to keep the value in your car through this tough time in the car market, and whether you should, try to trade your car and sell your car, do a 2-for-1 or a 1-for-2 deal. There's many ways where you can, solve your problem, even if you're gonna have to take no for an answer from 1, 2, 4, 10 dealerships, okay? So with that being said, make sure you guys go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button while you're down there, comment below if you're in the market or if you're trying to sell, if you're trying to buy, and just kind of what you're working with. So first off, I'll tell you about the dealership, because I took my truck to the dealership the other day, cleaned it up from a lot of driving. We've got about 45,000 miles on the Ram 3500 HD. She's been a good truck. She does need an oil change and some other service, so I figured I'd get a ballpark number. But when I took it to the dealership, I was hoping that they would value the fact that I put the limited wheels on there, because those are OEM Alcoa wheels from the Midnight Edition, from the limited edition, and then that is a very premium bed cover right there. So I was hoping that they would value that. But the dealership I went to, Gary Matthews Motors, even though their used car lot is basically empty and they need cars to sell, they need to move metal, they basically just gave me the KBB value and told me that I wanted too much for it. So that is the thing that I tell you guys the most. If you're just trying to sell your car, first of all, type it into Carvana, because a lot of times they're going to give you a crazy value for it for some random reason, because their company is probably not structured correctly. Type it into CarMax, type the VIN or the specs into CarMax, Kelley Blue Book, just so you have an idea of how much your car is worth. So I know my wife's RAV4 is worth between 27 and 29 right now. The WRX is probably worth between high 20s, low 30s, maybe. And Carvana and people are telling me that this is worth, around 60, but that's not with the tasteful modifications. So let's talk about the mods, because the mods, as you guys know, modifications usually do not help your value, but sometimes it will help, depending on, if you use OEM parts, if you upgrade OEM parts, I could probably sell that truck privately and people would appreciate the fact that I put the next level up wheels on it, especially since those are such good brand wheels. Or say you have, let's say you have a RAV4 and it's not a TRD off-road edition. If you went out and got TRD wheels and put them on there, that's what I would say is probably a tasteful modification with some decent tires or whatever it may be. A tasteful tint that's technically legal. Maybe you blacked out some of the emblems or something like that, just to make it look like a higher trim. That could be a way to increase your car's value while also customizing it and not kind of shooting yourself in the foot later. But if you guys are having trouble getting the right value for your car, so let's use this as an example, what you can do as well is talk to multiple dealerships, either over the phone or over email, and give them the VIN, because then they can run it and make sure the Carfax is clean, and get them to give you a ballpark number. I've got a lot of dealerships to value my cars just over the phone, over text, with just some photos. They probably want 5 to 10 photos, half of the interior, half of the exterior, and they can value your car in their system. Obviously, it's a conditional offer. If I send them photos from 10 months ago and then the truck is all smashed up and scratched up and whatever, and there's no seats in it, then obviously that's you're not going to fulfill that contract, that tentative contract that you make with the dealership. So if you guys really don't want to drive everywhere and anywhere to go get 10 different values from 10 different dealerships, I would say about half the dealerships that I have worked with all over the country are willing to put a tentative number on, most cars, whether it's a relatively stock WRX or a fully stock TRD off-road or something like that. Now, obviously, we got the C8 right now in the garage. that is twin turbo. So obviously that is not going to be getting a trade-in valuation if it is that heavily modified, fully built motor, upgraded clutches. I mean, the car has been taken apart more than it's been, you know, together, honestly. So that is what you're dealing with on the trade-in side of the house. And yes, you can just sell your car to someone like Carvana or CarMax or a random dealership, especially if they don't have people, or they don't have cars on the lot. If they don't have people at the dealership, that would probably be helpful as well. But let's get into what the market is looking like. So the car market, in my opinion, is basically on a slow bleed out right now because the Fed keeps raising the benchmark interest rate that banks loan at, or that banks get their credit at. So, you know, interest rates were almost at zero for banks, and that's why you guys saw so many 0% financing offers, so many 1%, 2%, 3% financing offers, because the banks were getting the money basically for free. Now banks are having to pay, well, a few months ago it was 3%, 4%, 5%, and it's around 5% right now as the baseline interest rate. So if you guys see promotional financing, whether it's for new or used cars, that is below about 5%, you're actually, that company is probably losing money on the financing, but maybe making a commission or making some sort of incentive off of you buying the vehicle or the house or whatever it may be. So just keep that in mind, that the base interest rate is so high right now. That's why you're seeing people, even with 800 credit scores, they're getting offered 5, 6, 7, 8% financing on new cars too. We're not even talking used cars. So that is why you are seeing such high interest rates, and that's why you're seeing the price of cars go down. I've never really heard this rule in the car market, but in the housing market, so, you know, a lot of you guys might know this, but in the housing market, there's a rule that for every 1% interest rates go up, the price of houses goes down by about 10%. And if you do the math on that, it's because when you amortize that interest rate over the 30-year loan, it comes out and it makes about the same monthly payments. So like, let's say you had a mortgage at 4%, the price of the house was $400,000. If the interest rates go up to 5%, then the price of that house is going to come down a corresponding amount to about $360,000, because that monthly payment with the APR going up, that monthly payment on a lower priced house is going to be the same. You know, whatever that monthly payment would be, like, let's just call it a $2,000 a month mortgage, just for example's sake. So it's the same thing with cars, right? If you have a $50,000 car that you can get at only 3% interest, then the dealer's going to sell it to you like that. But if interest rates have now gone up to 4%, 5%, they're probably going to have to lower the price of that car, because then people will not be able to afford that monthly payment if it's still a $50,000 car, like out the door price, and the monthly and the APR is up at 5%. I know that might sound a little convoluted, but just think about it. Now, a lot of you guys, you're into niche cars, you're into sports cars, you're into very one-off or specialty cars or popular cars. So a lot of those cars are price insulated from the interest rate issue. Now, exotic cars are seeing a decline in price, but as you guys know, you know, the C8 Corvette Z06 is seeing astronomical prices, you know, 50, 100, 200 grand markups, because there's so few of them. Hummer EVs, a lot of EVs right now, because gas prices were and kind of are still high, a lot of those are not seeing the price drops that we would assume there is going to be with these interest rates. So, you know, just keep the interest rates in mind. As the interest rates go up, generally car prices are going to come down, and the car value. So if you're thinking, oh, if I want to buy a WRX or a SCAT pack or a Hellcat or a Corvette, those prices, the value of that car is going down because there's less and less people able to buy those. Now, if you're able to buy something in cash and then flip it right away, you can probably get away with, you know, a month or two having the car and the price won't go down. But, you know, when I first bought this truck, it was worth way more because there was less mileage on it, and because you know, just the market was so bananas. And that's the same thing with, you know, 3-4 months ago, this car was worth 32 grand, and now it's only worth about 28. When I first bought that, everyone was paying sticker or more for those, but now people are only paying sticker or even less, maybe a couple grand off. And you guys just got to remember that the interest rates play a big factor. Now, the last thing that we need to keep in mind is that the car companies have less bottleneck now in their supply chain. The semiconductors, a lot of investment was made over the last 2 years in semiconductor manufacturing, distribution, and supply chain in general. So a lot of car companies like Subaru's days on lot, it was in the single digits. You could drive by Subaru dealerships and there would literally be no cars. It would look like either a used car lot or a ghost town because Subarus just were not on dealerships. Dodges were like that for a while. You rarely saw Chargers, Challengers, or trucks. There would be like random Durangos and like Jeep Compasses on Dodge dealerships, but it was hard to come by. I know Toyota, they were missing RAV4s sell like hotcakes now because they did such a good job with them, but they could not get RAV4s to save their life, and when they would come in, they would sell quickly. Now car dealerships are starting to get inventory again, which gives you as the customer options. You don't feel like you have to buy that car that weekend because it could be there next week. Or maybe instead of only having one that just came off the truck, they have 3 of these now. So you could reasonably assume that, that car may be there, or one of those cars may be there long enough for you to go kind of wheel and deal with the dealership. And they can't rely on customers coming in behind you and swooping that up for sticker or more. So one stat I saw was that normally pre-pandemic, the car market usually has about 3 million new cars on dealer lots across the United States. During the pandemic, we were down to as low as about 500,000, which is a massive, massive, massive decrease from 3 million. And now we're back over 1 million from what I understand in the stats that I've seen. So we are creeping back up there. By no means is this car market normal again. I would still say, in my opinion, used car values are inflated. So if there's anything you can take away from this video, if you need to sell a car, if you need to get out of a car, it's only going to get worse for you. So values are only going to go lower. So if you strictly need to sell a car, like me, I have too many cars, I should be getting rid of one sooner rather than later, unless you have maybe a specialty car that's going to hold its value. But even then, because of interest rates, even most rich people do not buy cars with cash because they realize that their money can be leveraged much better somewhere else on real estate, investments, or whatever it may be. So even rich people rely on financing for their cars. So consider the value of your car right now. Consider what the value of your car was 3, 6, 9 months ago, and you'll see that trajectory is going down, and 2023 looks like it's going to keep going down as well. So if you guys have more comments, I'm going to do a couple, put them below. I'm going to do a couple videos where I'm sitting in front of my computer so I can show you guys some stats, show you guys some, tricks and techniques. But I just thought I would come out here, kind of show you, give you a couple more examples on the cars, let you see the cars and whatnot. And, appreciate y'all for tuning in. And go check out destroyer1320.com if you have a Mopar, because you need to protect your car. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video.
Keep us along the way, so we got talking points in the future and our open monologue
I'm
to be able to.
we're gonna have a blast. We've got so much good news coming, so this year is gonna be a strong year.
Keep us in the loop. Make sure she shoots it out to us. Put us on the list, whatever it is. Too. Let's go back and run through. If there's any, Brad, if there's some questions.
I'm gonna take this question here. It sucks that people are stealing our cars, and I remember this happened with the Cutlasses back in the day. It happened.
Yeah.
Any popular car like that, it ends up on the list. We do have a code. We do have a valet code now that makes the car immobile. You can download it at the dealership, and you can put in the code in the radio, and no one can copy the key anymore. So if you go, some of the newer cars have that, and I think some of you can backdate that. So talk to your dealer, see if they can get you the valet code for the guys that